California prisoners are suing to end torture of long-term solitary confinement. This is a really fascinating story, and it basically started last year in 2011 when thousands of prisoners at Pelican Bay State Prison in California went on a hunger strike because it turns out that 500 of their prisoners have been held in solitary confinement for 20 years. I'm sorry, for a decade. But there are 87 prisoners who have been held in solitary confinement for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's an incredible story because, and we've talked about this before, solitary confinement is supposed to be used for the most violent, dangerous criminals, right? Mm-hmm. And in a lot of cases, they put inmates in solitary confinement for ridiculous things. We did a story about Lil Wayne. When he was in prison, they put him in solitary confinement because they found an iPad or iPod. He was listening to music, he got caught, and they considered it contraband, so they put him in solitary confinement. Look, I get that he's not supposed to have the electronics, but solitary confinement is not for someone who wants to listen to music. Mm-hmm. We overuse it. Our prison system has gone way too far.
Well, I don't know enough about the day-to-day operations of a prison to say in particular cases if they're overusing it. Like if they put him in solitary confinement for 6 hours or something, maybe he hadn't been responding to other forms of punishment. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I do think that it's interesting if you have 500 people in there for a decade. We don't have explanations here of exactly what those prisoners have done before or after being put in jail. It's possible they'd had multiple violent, incidents at jail. And at that point, I think it becomes an interesting question of what exactly do you do with these people? Mm-hmm. If every time they mix with other prisoners, they're becoming violent, what do you do with them? I mean, you either put them in solitary or, do we put them in a chemically induced coma and just let them ride out the rest of their life that way?
Look, that's a difficult question to answer, but the question is putting them in solitary confinement helping the situation? Because when you put someone in solitary confinement, it totally damages them psychologically. Mm-hmm. So if you look at prison systems, like for instance, we talk about prison systems in Europe, and Cenk and I have gone into great detail about that. And when we compare it to the system here in the United States, we see that the recidivism is much higher in the United States. We do nothing to rehabilitate these people. In fact, with private prisons, we purposely make it so they come back to prison because there's a profit for that. Now, in this case, it is a state prison, so it's different. But putting 500 prisoners in solitary confinement for 10 years, that sounds like a bit much. Steve?
Yeah, one of the main reasons for doing that is not because they're violent people that need to be sequestered. It's because they won't do favors for the correctional system. So for example, if they ask a prisoner, hey, we want you to rat out on this other guy, and he doesn't do it, solitary. If they say, hey, we want you to be an informant and infiltrate that rival gang, and they're afraid because if they get found out, they're gonna get killed, solitary.
Solitary confinement sounds like the worst thing. And just to give you guys more insight into what solitary confinement is, they will be in like this tiny little room with no window, nothing. It's just, concrete walls for 22 hours a day. And they get to go to another concrete room for about 90 minutes to exercise. Yeah. And then they get placed right back into that solitary confinement. It's the scariest thing. And again, we're doing nothing to rehabilitate these people because we're not concerned about rehabilitating them. Prison is all about punishment in this country. It's about punishment and profit.